So we showed before the UK and their censorship laws as, going after people for social media posts and how we are living the 1984 nightmare that was supposed to be science fiction. It's now happening. It's now reality, folks. And it's getting worse. It's getting a lot worse. Um, and we knew this was, sadly, we knew this was happening. We knew that with Julian Assange when it came to Edward Snowden, when we saw how other investigators and journalists were detained. We saw that with Kit Clarenberg of the Gray Zone getting detained by British police. Now they're going after Richard Medhurst, who, if you've seen his videos, he does a fantastic job going under investigation when it comes to foreign affairs, when it comes to the Middle East. He's done a lot of great reporting, and he was arrested under Britain's British Terrorism Act. That like the laws that were placed in the early 2000s when they were trying to invoke the Patriot Act and they were trying to force people, hey, you got to go on our side, otherwise you're a terrorist. The horrendousness of that, they're trying to charge a journalist because he expressed his opinion about a report he was covering. That apparently upset the British establishment to the point that he got arrested for. So it says independent journalist Richard Medhurst was arrested by British police under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act Thursday, August 15th. He was seized at London's Heathrow Airport. Medhurst is known for his journalism opposing U.S., British, and Israeli war crimes in Gaza and across the Middle East, and has more than 1 million followers on social media. In a video posted Monday night to X, since viewed 2.6 million times, Medhurst revealed that 6 police officers were waiting for him at the entrance to the aircraft when it landed at Heathrow. He was held for nearly 24 hours, including in solitary confinement, was questioned by police, and had his electronic equipment seized. Medhurst's video describes police state methods against anti-war journalists in Britain. He was prevented from calling his family or friends to inform them of his whereabouts, and police declared that any discussion with his lawyers would be subject to audio surveillance, a clear breach of lawyer-client privilege. He explained that they arrested me, not detained, they arrested me under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act of 2000 and accused me of allegedly expressing an opinion or a belief that is supportive of a prescribed organization. Which, using that logic, just on that assumption, wouldn't that mean that every single journalist that's supportive of the mainstream establishment is subject to this law? Would that mean like the BBC or American or Canadian channels that are supportive of their constituents, the part of that organization, wouldn't they fall under that? Like, you're deliberately lying to people to express and support of an organization. It's just that organization has control over everything and they dominate most of things, so they can get away with it. Medhurst is the first journalist to be arrested under Section 12. Its draconian provisions, amended in 2019, mean a person can be jailed for up to 14 years for merely expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a prescribed organization, and in doing so is reckless as to whether a person to whom the expression is directed will be encouraged to support a prescribed organization. Introduced by Tony Blair's Labour government in the act of illegal dragnet, in Medhurst's case, it appears that commentary defending the right of Palestinians under international law to resist foreign military occupation and genocide is being defined as support for terrorism. Welcome back to the early 2000s, folks, where you have to be on our side, and if you say anything different, then you are a traitor, you're a terrorist, you're one of them, and we need to take you down. Unbelievable. In 2024, as they're arresting people, as they're arresting innocent civilians that are going on social media for not even posts, but retweets. So even if you don't post something directly from your account, if you share something, if you like something, if you retweet something, you are also targeted for arrest in the UK. I literally said this. It's amazing that the country that fought against the Nazis back in the 40s turned into them. They turned into Nazi Germany. They turned into fascism. It's amazing because this is what they did in the 40s. And they were fighting against them. Now they turned into them because we didn't really actually fight against the Nazis. We didn't actually stop fascism. We just rebranded it. We took parts of it, brought into our countries, and then just try to, cultivate their knowledge with our knowledge and reimagine fascism in this new golden age of the New World Order. Hamas is one of the organizations prescribed as terrorists by the UK government, while its military wing was prescribed in 2001. Hamas was banned in its entirety in 2021, aimed at criminalizing support for the Palestinian people. The political wing of Hamas won elections held in Gaza in 2006, and the organization, again, does the UK look into the fact that Hamas originated from Israel as a means to deter people away from the Palestinian liberation movement? Did they mention that to people? Did they talk about that? God, no. God, no. Because how else are we going to sell the idea of a genocide invading their country, or ethnic cleansing, as people like to say, because it sounds more pleasant, I guess? How are we going to sell that idea and how awful the Palestinians are if we tell people that we kicked away their good government and installed this horrible government? It literally just the same exact to detail of every single war that I've seen in my lifetime. Exact same playbook. Medhurst has denounced the accusations against him. I categorically and utterly reject all the accusations by police. I am not a terrorist. I have no criminal record. Prior to this incident, I've never been detained in my entire life. I'm a product of the diplomat community. I'm raised to be anti-war. Both my parents won Nobel Peace Prizes. Wow. For their work as the United Nations peacekeepers. Well, then again, I mean, that's good to know, but then again, they gave Barack Obama a peace prize after he bombed all of Syria. Like, does peace prizes even matter at this point? Um, they had a tremendous effect on my worldview and outlook, and instilled in me the importance of diplomacy, international law, and peace. Um, so Medhurst campaigned for the release of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, reporting on his extradition case in London. Now he's been targeted by the same forces seeking to outlaw his anti-war journalism and his truth. His YouTube channel was demonetized last year with video content exposing Israel's attack on Palestinians deleted. Gee, I wonder who was involved in forcing the arrest of this journalist, concerning the fact that they're going after videos that clearly express his criticism of Israel, and concerning that Israel forces, the Mossad, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, all are in collusion together. Same with the MI6 in the UK. They're all in collusion together to go after, silence, and arrest journalists who are critical of this war. And let me just remind people that they will go after people that express the truth. They don't care about liars. They're all liars themselves. None of that matters. They don't care about liars. They want more people to lie. They will go after someone who is substantially truthful and actually has principle in diplomacy, because they don't want these wars to end. That's what Julian Assange always reminds us. The whole point of these wars is continuous. They want the war machine to continue on. It's their business, it's their lifestyle. That's all they have in this world. And if someone's critical of that, then you're basically attacking them. You're attacking the business. You're attacking the economy of bloodshed, bloodthirsty maniacs who want us basically all killed. Like that's not a hyperbole. They want us to slaughter each other while they kick back and cash in on our death and disparity. So, and they also mentioned Scott Ritter's FBI raided house. So it is like it's happening, folks. This is happening more and more often. And regardless of how you feel about any of these people, if you don't speak up, if you don't recognize this and don't call this out for how brutal, draconian, how evil, how 1984 Orwellian this is, they're going to come after you. Eventually, there's no stopping them. You're opening the floodgates for more and more people to have this same approach. So here's Richard Medhurst himself going to explain exactly what I read here. Hear it from his perspective, and well, listen to this.
My name is Richard Thomas Medhurst. I'm an internationally accredited journalist from the United Kingdom. On Thursday, as I landed in London Heathrow Airport, I was immediately escorted off the plane by 6 police officers who were waiting for me at the entrance of the aircraft. They arrested me, not detained, they arrested me under Section 12 of the Terrorism Act of 2000 and accused me of allegedly, quote, expressing an opinion or belief that is supportive of a proscribed organization, unquote, but wouldn't explain what this meant. One officer took my bags, and when I asked why he was still back in the aircraft, I was told, look, mate, you can get nicked right here in front of everyone or in there, your choice. So I was taken to an adjacent room, patted down, my phone confiscated. I was not allowed to inform my family. Despite being calm and cooperative, I was handcuffed with something that placed my shoulders in an awkward position and my wrists on top of rather than next to each other. The handcuffs were extremely tight. Despite the police loosening them, they left marks on me for 2 days. The police took me down onto the runway, put me in a police van, essentially a mobile cage, and informed me that everything was being recorded. The van was cramped. I had to struggle the entire time to keep my balance and try not to fall over as we drove to the police station. Now, once inside the station, they searched me again for the second time within 10 minutes. I was told to sit on a bench, remove my shoes, remove my socks. I was told to turn my socks inside out and hold them up for the officers to inspect. They also made me hold up my feet so they could check them as well.
Oh my God.
The officers took me to a room with UV lights, which they told me is used to catch burglars who are sprayed with something. I have no idea why they did this since they just removed me off of a plane. My suitcase was then opened in the lobby and ransacked. All of my journalistic equipment and devices were seized, including phones, SIM cards, wireless microphones, headphones, even my shoelaces. They later took my DNA as well, my fingerprints, palm prints, and photographed me. I was placed in solitary confinement in a cold cell that smelt like urine. There was barely any light, and the bed, if you can even call it a bed, was simply a small concrete ledge with a paper-thin mattress. The cell had no windows, no heating, no toilet paper. I was recorded 24/7 with audio and video, even when going to the toilet. I had to eat food with a piece of cardboard that you were supposed to fold in two in order to scoop up the meal. The police said that I have the right to inform someone that I'm locked up. So I said, okay, I want to call my family. And then they'd go, well, your calls are withheld because of the nature of the alleged offense. I tried to ask, well, what's the point of a right if you can just randomly withdraw it? Why tell me that I have this right at all? And one of them said something along the lines of, well, it's not an absolute right. It can be waived. Similarly, they said I had the right to know why I was being detained. So I asked again, and the police would say something like, well, we're just the arresting officers. We don't really know. Or this will be explained to you during the interview, or some other generic response. Now, despite the police officers' civility and cheerfulness, I felt that the whole process was designed to humiliate, intimidate, and dehumanize me and treat me like a criminal, even though they must have been aware of my background and that I'm a journalist.
And that is the exact point, is that this is them trying to intimidate and penalize and criminalize a journalist because they're not helping the establishment. They're not helping the war empire. They are not aiding and assisting the horrificness that comes out of this. This is someone who is actually critical of the status quo. This is someone that actually takes the time to give out these reports, to investigate why these wars are happening. And they're arresting him, not telling him why he's being arrested, why he's being detained, deny him the rights to even contact his family to let him know that he's arrested, precisely because of the fact they can't really fundamentally charge him with anything. He hasn't done any real criminal charges. This is all just thought police. This is just them arresting him because of him expressing a different opinion away from the establishment. And they're doing this constantly. They're doing this constantly in the UK. We saw the police commissioner announcing that he wants to take this global wide. He wants to go after other countries and other people in other countries and say we need to arrest them for posting, for retweeting, for sharing ideas and opinions, expressing concerns for fellow people. Like I said, this is 1984 on steroids, and this is the reality. That used to be science fiction. That used to be people read that and go, "Wow, that must be crazy. Good thing we're not in that position." Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We're here now. We're far into it now. And regardless of how you feel about any of these people, I don't care what they said. I don't care what the post is. I don't care what your view is on his reporting or his journalism or what you feel about any of these people. If you don't speak up now, they are going after everybody, regardless. And this is the scary part about this. This is why I say free speech is a principle matter. You can't cookie cutter and say, well, I deserve my right to express opinions and my friend deserves the right to express, but I don't like this guy, so he needs to be silenced out. He needs to be kicked out of here. He's not allowed to do his work because I don't like what he says. That's not the point. That's not free speech. Free speech is one for all. It's everybody gets the right to express their opinion, or you don't have that right. And you're just completely full of crap if you say you're for free speech, but don't actually accept people for their abilities to free speech. Every single person in these countries has the right to free speech. And considering they're going after people that are journalists, they're going after like grandmothers, they're going after children, they're going after people that aren't even parts of politics. These are just, regular people, regular working class people. They're storming into their houses and detaining them and arresting them for stuff they share on the internet. And that is just horrific. That's diabolical. That's sinister. And it's just amazing to me. Like I said, it's amazing to me that the UK, who once upon a time fought against fascism, fought against this style of tyranny in Germany in the 1940s because they didn't want this to cultivize the rest of the world. Well, guess what? It happened. It goddamn happened. And this is the stuff that would make Adolf Hitler cringe. This is the stuff that Joseph Stalin would cringe at. This is stuff that Mussolini would turn around and go, holy crap, what the hell is happening? And they are deliberately lying to people. This is the most sinister part, is that they're lying to people. They're manipulating, brainwashing people to think that arresting people like Richard Medhurst or detaining Julian Assange or exiling Edward Snowden and all this craziness is somehow securing you. Somehow this is about your safety, that you're not allowed to see a journalist. You're not allowed to read other people's opinions. You're not allowed to evolve and understand other people's point of view so that maybe we could come together and realize that we're kind of similar. which is the ultimate end goal. They want people segregated. They want people divided. They want people to yell and scream at each other. That's why we have wars. That's why they have to cultivize these wars. And they have to manipulate countries to fight against each other when really in the end, we're all the same people. We're all human beings. We all have different opinions. We all have different ideas. Let's come together and build upon that. Let's build a conversation. But we can't do that when we're run by sinister oligarchs and their minions that are arresting and detaining and stripping people's rights away for the simple act of journalism. Like, they're treating them worse than serial killers. That's the day and age that we're living. And you wonder why crime is outrageous. They're going after a journalist in a way that you would think that murderous victim, like serial killers and murderers, would have that punishment. But they're not doing that. Just absolutely crazy. And again, regardless of how you feel about him or anybody else, it's not the point of the matter is you have to be principled in the stance for free speech, because if they do this to him, they do this to Alex Jones, they do this to Julian Assange or whoever, eventually they'll come up with you. Eventually they're going to find something to blackmail you with. That's why you don't have privacy anymore. They want to scoop up as much personal data on you because then they have a reason to blackmail you. Hey, remember that photo you had, 6 years ago? Boom. We're going to post that up unless you do what we say. They will personally manipulate you to get their way. These are sinister people. And if we don't step up now, God only knows what's going to happen next.